Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of Fundraising Bidness Talk. It's so excited to have you joining us today. I want to encourage you to definitely feel free to ask questions and comments. That's the whole purpose of the show, is to talk current events in the fundraising business of auctions and golf tournaments and everything else, but also love to answer any questions that you may have. So also encourage you, type in the comments and say hi, tell us where you're tuning in from today. It's always fun to know where folks are joining us. And if you're sharing it with your friends, please use hashtag fundraising bidness talk. Hey, today is a special day. First of all, it's St. Me Day, being a Patrick and on St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Me Day, as I like to say, and enjoy. I've already had my green tie on today, which is going to be a lot of fun. We did a virtual event this morning. I know it's noon on the West Coast. We've already raised a ton of money for one very, very deserving nonprofit organization here in our market. And ironically enough, it was the first event that we have done twice. And they are annual events. So that means 1 year ago, we did this event the first time. And I am so happy to have our good friend, the executive director of the organization, joining us now. Hope you will put a virtual round of applause together for our good friend, the executive director of Portland Youth Philharmonic. Please welcome Noreen Murdock to the call. Noreen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm terrific. We had a lot of fun this morning.
We did.
Are you warmed up yet?
I am. Oh my gosh, it was so cold in the studio. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about it, just observing that it was very cold.
Yeah.
It's nice to be back and bundled in a sweater.
Well, yeah, no, it's nice to be back in the warmth. I agree. Even with my sport coat on, I was a little chilly. But hey, to me, this is a fascinating story. I mean, you and I met probably roughly 2 years ago. And a good friend of ours, Carol Smith, who was on your board at the time, I believe, and was a friend of mine from a past life. And she reached out to me and she said, I've got this group that I feel really strongly about. They're running a wonderful fundraising event. It's really cool, but I think they're leaving a lot of money on the table. They're using an envelope system to have people give their donations. And would you come and visit with the committee and give your thoughts? Because I know they could do better with bid paddles. And I said, yeah. And so that was the first time you and I met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was quite the spirited conversation, as I recall, with respect to the committee was pretty divided. People liked the envelope appeal versus the opportunity to have bid paddles in people's hands.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely it was a big culture change, this event, and I think what the committee was accustomed to raising, or I guess what they felt comfortable was a realistic target for them to raise,
Right.
And then just being comfortable in that fundraising landscape, being comfortable with asking for gifts. They were at a place where the envelopes on the table and asking folks to just okay, at the end of the program, now, if you feel so moved, please, here we're passing out envelopes, please make a gift and turn your envelope in. It felt like at that point in the evolution of the event and their comfort level with fundraising, they were just trying to be very respectful and very kind of soft in that and very private. And so the whole thought of moving to a very public paddle raise where people are sharing with folks in the room how much they're actually giving, that was, and it's a breakfast event. It's first thing in the morning, so we don't have the cocktails and the wine flowing, and we don't have that kind of late night rambunctious kind of thing. This is a very professional, very pre-work hours, just kind of just a more professional feel to it. So
right.
How is a paddle raise going to work? Is that even It's like, are people going to want to do this? Are they going to feel comfortable doing it? It's like, how is that even going to work? But ultimately, we figured out, working with you, figuring out like how can we make that paddle raise still fit into that businessy type atmosphere, knowing that it's not an auction, it's not an evening event with alcohol and, that kind of like party situation. It's like, how are we going to make this work? And we did. And there was no turning back after that. I think that really sold everybody that like, yes, this does work.
Yeah.
It absolutely works. We raised so much more money and the energy was so great. The energy in the room that morning with you leading that paddle raise, I think the committee and the board in particular, but just like everyone in the room, that was the first time that they could really get a sense of, yes, we are all here and we're all supporting this event. Look at how much money is coming in for this organization. This is so fantastic. And now I want to give. Now I'm going to give again, and it's just, it was great.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. And then fast forward, and I love that perspective because I think about, okay, we're going to have a low profile. We're going to invite our best friends. There's not even a ticket charge for the event, as I recall, right? I mean, it's basically board members hosting or key supporters hosting friends to come to this breakfast. And, and if you feel so inclined, like you said, fill out the envelope and drop it at the door. To a paddle raise event, to a year later, and I joke because I see whether it's auctioneers or nonprofit professionals around the country, really boasting about spinning an event around. They use that P word. I try to avoid it, the pivot word. But they talk about pivoting their event in 6 weeks to 7 weeks. And as I recall, I've told the story many times on the show, and now I have proof of it because you're here with me. But let's walk through a little bit what happened on March 9th a year ago. And what was your afternoon like?
So we all recall about when the pandemic was, well, it was before it was even labeled a pandemic. It was just, there was this epidemic, this disease that was spreading, this virus that was spreading. We'd had a couple of concerts on March 7th and March 8th. And we knew that those, we were debating at that time. It's like, is it safe for us to have these concerts? What do we do? Honoring people's tickets if they want to postpone their ticket to the spring concert, which of course is really funny. Auction right now, there was none of that happening, but so we could see like the audience, just like only about half of the audience actually attended the concerts. So there, we could tell from that weekend of concerts, like this is, first of all, we're not super comfortable with the idea of holding live events right now, just with the way that this seems to be going. And then our audience doesn't seem comfortable attending, or at least half of the audience didn't seem comfortable attending. And so now we have this fundraising event, the annual breakfast is coming up on Wednesday, immediately following that concert weekend. And so, come Monday, the 9th, post-concert weekend, and we're talking with folks, kind of debriefing from the concert weekend, looking at the breakfast is coming up. Do we still do that in person? What do we do in this situation? No governments had made any kind of like special orders or anything yet. This was all just internally, like, what do we feel is the best thing to do right now? We spoke with some other board members and decided to call an emergency development committee meeting on the phone. We had a conference call on Monday, March 9th it was sometime like late afternoon. It might've been 5 p.m. And we all, talked and debated the risks and, the possibilities. And it was in that conversation that we were like, I don't think it's smart for us to move forward with an in-person event. So what can we do instead? Do we cancel it? Do we postpone it? A lot of people are talking about postponing their events to later in the spring. We're like, well, but so many things are in motion right now. And the thing is, on Wednesday morning, and here we are on Monday evening. And so we thought, well, what about live streaming it? We have the program, we have the folks with the AV support already booked at this time. Let's see if we can live stream it. We can do it here in the office. We have, a little bit of a conference room type space that might be big enough to do the core elements of the program. But we have everything ready to go. Let's just try it. Okay, let's reach out to all the people who would need to be involved. So we ended that committee meeting at about 6 p.m. on Monday night. And the event, was taking place on Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning. So we had basically 36 hours to pivot from an in-person event to an online event. And now we had live streamed some concerts before. So live streaming as a concept was not completely new to us. We live streamed some concerts, we live streamed some other like panel discussions and smaller events, but we've never done a fundraising event. We hadn't done anything like with a big live stream production team. So so I called Pat after that meeting and like, okay, we basically have one business day, from 6 p.m. on Monday night to 6 a.m. call time on Wednesday morning. We have 36 hours, one business day to get all this stuff in place. That was a whirlwind. That Tuesday was the longest Tuesday anybody could possibly have. It was like, it was a whirlwind, but we did it. It worked.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. And I joke because I tell people all the time I couldn't even spell live stream that day. When you called me and said, hey, we're going to do this, I'm like, hey, that's great, how do we do that? That's why I'm calling you. I'm like, oh, that's a problem. But a big shout out to our friends at the AV department, right? Because they they're the best, right? And it was kind of ironic. Your event was scheduled for the Multnomah Club. They happen to be the in-house AV provider there. You guys had worked together on some other projects, and Todd Campbell and Jeff and John and all the gang. They just, I remember it looked like a Shriner's car, circus vehicle when they pulled up in front of your office that morning at 5:45 a.m. and they all piled out, and all this equipment piled out of this little Explorer. And I was laughing. I was like, are we really going to do this? But the end result was what? We did fantastic, right?
Yeah, it was a great event. And I think everyone was really, I don't know, it was just a really positive energy that like, we're still moving forward. We're still going to do this. These programs are still, we're making things work. It's that kind of like perseverance through rough times. And just figuring out a way to make it still happen, like on with the show kind of mentality.
And it didn't take very long to figure out what you were going to do this year.
No. I mean, we did reserve that space. We got a date at the Multnomah Athletic Club, and and even when we were reserving that date, it's like, well, we're going to put this date on the calendar. Not sure if it's going to happen, of course. They were thinking the same thing. It's like, we're not sure if we're going to be able to host events or not, but at least we'll get you down. And of course, I think it was sometime in the fall when they formally were like, this isn't, we're not going to be able to host events. And we're like, we kind of figured that. I don't think we were going to host this event anyways. So it was much nicer to be able to have months and months to plan this virtual event this year. So even though this was our second virtual event, and you usually think of like, well, you do something for a second time, you have this experience from the first time. And of course we could carry over some experiences from the first time, but also like, we truly did pivot 36 hours before that event happened last time. And so there were a lot of things where we were just kind of like learning on the fly, making stuff where we didn't have a fancy online giving platform for online virtual events. We just made the things that we already had work for the online event. And this time, we could research platforms, and we could, actually assemble it from the beginning, knowing that it was going to be a virtual event. And it's been a great experience throughout the whole thing.
Well, I have to fast forward and share this photo with our audience. Here we are this morning in the studio at the AV department, their Hancock studio, and wow, what a look, huh? Is that it's a fabulous experience there at the AV department.
It was great. It was
other than the heat.
Other than the heat, but compared to being in our office where we pushing furniture aside and setting up lights and everything kind of on the fly. This was very, very nice to be in a professional studio and have all those monitors to, follow along with the script and seeing the gifts come in and everything. It was a very different kind of a feel than last year. We had several people monitoring gifts coming in on computers and then like printing off these gifts on sheets of paper. and like running down the hallway to the printer and running back down the hallway and like sneaking these sheets of paper to Patrick so that he could announce them live on the broadcast. And, it was all this, like running down the hallway back and forth and tracking all the different places where gifts were coming in, because again, we were modifying everything last minute to make this work. And, we didn't want to change too much because we didn't want the donors to be confused about where to go to make a gift. We've been telling them all along, like, go here. And we didn't want to change something last minute, be like, oh, never mind, it's a virtual event, go here instead. So, we were doing all of this stuff to try to maintain continuity from the donor's side. And on the back end, like, okay, it was great though. It was really fun energy. And then to move from that kind of putting it together, pivoting as quickly as we can to this very nice professional studio, very seasoned professional team now, now the AV department. We were the first live stream fundraising event that they did 1 year ago. And now in the last 12 months, they have, what they say this morning, that they've done over 240 events.
Yeah, over 240 from all over the country, not just
all over the country. Yeah. So to see that kind, to be able to work with that same team as a trusted partner, and yet to also benefit from all of that experience that they have gained doing these kinds of events over the last year is just very, it was a very great experience. Yeah.
No, it was fun. The ability for them to see the evolution of what we've done on these events. I was joking. I don't know if you were in the room when I was talking to some of the guys this morning, and I was saying, I pulled up some footage from last year's event that we did together in your office. Right. And I was thinking to myself, first of all, we just rewritten that script the day before. So I had my head down the whole time. So most of the time they were looking at the top of my head, because we just didn't know any better. Right. I mean,
right.
And to watch today, you and I with monitors and watching the bids roll in, and the donations roll in right in front of us, and us being able to, one of the things I love about it is the number of young people we were able to showcase today. We would have never been able to do that in a gathering event, and to create those videos and have be able to showcase really the mission of your organization and the great work that you do for folks, I think is really a powerful benefit of this environment.
Mm-hmm. I agree. We were able to really present a lot more variety of information than we could have in that traditional.
And then, we probably, if we were doing this in the gathering event, there's one element that we would have really struggled to incorporate into the Multnomah Club space. And that would be, I think it's your favorite part of the event. Am I correct? The Wheel of Friends of PYP.
Wheel of Friends. It's just a fun component. You can see the little gift bags in the corner. I don't know that you can see them in the actual broadcast. I should have moved it more on set, but I just wanted to have some kind of fun, interactive. I guess it's not entirely interactive, but if you RSVP'd in advance, or if you made a gift in advance, your name got added to this wheel of names tool, which we called the Wheel of Friends because we have friends of PYP, and spun the wheel and give away some door prizes. It was kind of a fun little break between, just it was fun.
The hardcore of me asking people to give money. Yeah, no, it was a fabulous event, and I just so appreciative. I said it this morning. You changed my life, right? I mean, I used to, lose every Saturday night to being in a ballroom somewhere, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love being in a ballroom and 300, 400, 500 people in a room and calling bids and all that deal. But it was your organization, and you in particular, your event, that changed my life. And now I sit in front of 3 box lights and a camera and a microphone, and I talk all day, and it's fabulous. People talk about all the challenges of the pandemic, and absolutely no question about it. I don't want to discount any of the negative impact that it's had, but there's been a lot of things that have come out of this that have been very positive, and our relationship growing between myself and your group, and just to see how we've been able to come together and make real positive impact, and to continue the impact of PYP. I think, people, and we hopefully, if they watch the show today, or they can watch it again anytime, go to Portland Youth Philharmonic. It's actually Portland Youth phil.org, I believe. Am I right?
Yes.
And, / breakfast. And you can see the show right there today and get a sense of what a year later, what one of those shows looks like. But more importantly, you'll learn so much about the wide bandwidth of the impact that Portland Youth Philharmonic is having on the community. It's not just about some young people learning how to play music. It changes their life, whether they pursue music or not in their lifelong careers. But also, the people that they expose to the music is phenomenal. 13,000 students have enjoyed their concerts in the schools, and those are provided to them at no cost. And that doesn't happen without the support from events like today. And it's been fabulous. Noreen, I can't thank you enough for, at the last minute when we were together, I said, hey, why don't you come on the show today? And you said, yeah, I'll do that. No,
Great.
You're the best. And I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to be a part and a friend of PYP is outstanding. So thank you for joining.
So much.
Yeah. And thanks for making the time. And tell Matthew, I was realizing when I was driving home, the one guy I didn't thank on the air, which I should have, was Matthew Karen. He did a great job. I know it was totally out of his box of what he, and sometimes, we were talking earlier about how you had several months to plan this year versus 36 hours before. In some ways, I wish I had been able to give him shorter time because, he was so intense, and he is so intense because he cares so much. And I saw that throughout the event. You could see his attention and care coming through. So make sure you give him a pat on the back. Thank you.
He did a great job. This is his first PYP event, really, and I think he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, it was great. So we'll raise our PYP coffee mugs to him, and thank you. Absolutely. There you go. Thank you so much for joining me today, Noreen.
Thank you so much for all your help with making our event a success. We couldn't have done it without you.
I appreciate it, dear. Have a terrific day, and I'll look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks, Noreen.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye. All righty. And wow, what a fun event. And Noreen does just an incredible job. And David Hapner, the music conductor and head of PYP, David was on the air with us earlier today and did a great job sharing some of the history and giving some insight. It was just fantastic. And so, hey, I'm gonna change speeds here, and I'm gonna go to our next guest. Our next guest is a good friend of mine. We've met through the auction business, and I think that's always I always like it when you meet somebody and for a professional reason, and then you become good friends, because that's usually a result of having such a terrific respect for them professionally. And then you find out they're a pretty good guy, and it all works out. So I want you to give me a little virtual round of applause for my next guest, auctioneer and professional jet skier, professional father, professional husband. He does it all. I'm not going to say tech expert, but I am going to say a lot of other things he does great. Good friend of ours, Tim Stewart. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing good, Patrick. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, this is fantastic. You're usually one of my few live viewers, so I'm waiting for somebody else to chime in and send us a note. But I'm going to encourage them. Just say hi and tell us how it's going for you out there today. And also, hey, this is a perfect time if you've ever wanted to ask an auctioneer a question and didn't want to feel like you were going to get sold something, right? Because we are in the business of selling professionally. So if you want to ask a question, please feel free to drop a quick note in the comment box, and we will see it, and we will try our best to answer it. And this is a unique opportunity because Tim has a very, very wide history in the auction business, a lot of experience in different areas of the auction business. And this is truly a family affair for Tim and his family. Jill Marie Wiles is a world-acclaimed international auctioneer champion he is married to, and their daughters, both Ava and Lily, I believe, am I correct, Tim, have both been to auction school before they were 15 years old? Yeah.
They're both graduates of Worldwide College of Auctioneering.
Absolutely. And Jill Marie was an instructor there. And so, I mean, auctions are your life. Give us a little more feedback. What did I miss?
Well, primarily focus on real estate at auction. So we
Right.
sell a wide variety, and that's, everything from traditional residential properties to commercial properties. I'm going down this week to look at a gold mine in Southern Oregon. And so,
And maybe it will be.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have a wide range of area coverage. I'm licensed in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho to cover all the brokerage needs for any auction company. So I work in conjunction with a lot of auction companies that do have their license and some that don't have their licenses for real estate. So
Right.
we partner with other companies and to the best results of the seller.
Yeah.
Today's in today's market for the real estate, it is going great. I mean, you wouldn't know that we were just getting over a pandemic. The market's good. There's tons of buyers out. There's an inventory shortage. So, the sellers are getting what they're wanting and even sometimes a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a fabulous time. And when I think about the auction method, I mean, as you know, I was a guest at auctions prior to, probably close to 10 years ago. And now being an auctioneer, I've been overwhelmed. And I think about all the different areas in our society and in our life where the auction method would be so beneficial. And the one that I think is quite honestly the most underutilized is probably in real estate. And we've talked about this. I've shared the story and in having going through the traditional method, and I thought to myself, how would I compare this to not even a real estate auction, but just an auction in general? If you fill a room up with people who want to support your, want to buy something, you're going to get a lot more, going to get a higher price than you are if you just wait for people to call your phone, right? And I think about it's amazing to me, and it's exciting to see your business growing in the real estate area. I mean, I know I helped you out as an administrative position, helping out with the big property sale up in Idaho with Chuck Yarbrough, and what a phenomenal result that you generated there. And there's just no way it would have happened without the auction method, right?
That was a multi-par sale where there's multiple parcels. We had 27 different tracts of land, everything from 5 acres to 40 acres. Well, there was a couple of 80-acre pieces, and I think had one 160-acre piece. But we got all the potential buyers together, made them compete against each other to produce happy buyers and happy sellers.
Right. And that's
worked very well in that realm. You helped us with the Division of State Lands, the abandoned safe deposit box auction, where we did in conjunction with Capital Auction in Salem. We did that. It was a couple of years ago, but just a myriad of different items to sell. Ava's first auction item was a DeLorean, with the die-cast model of a DeLorean.
Yes, it was.
Auction tool. And then in that same sale, we had a DeLorean that I got to sell. So that was kind of a fun memory there too.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. And part of the reason that I wanted to have you on, Tim, is I know you have a strong background in benefits. Obviously, Jill Marie has been the, if not the one of the premier benefit auctioneers in our market and across the country for many, many years. And so you've had a lot of experience, and so it was ironic we had Noreen on first today, who's just experienced her second year of having to move to the virtual world. And so we've had a lot of opportunity to grow and to develop the concept of how these events work. But one of the things that sticks out to me is that the benefit auction business, when I went through Worldwide College of Auctioneering several years ago, I felt like we were kind of out here on an island, if you will. That, we weren't like the guys with I always tell the story. I showed up at Worldwide, and I was the only guy that didn't have a belt buckle and a cowboy hat, right? And ironically, I was the only one that was originally from Texas, but I thought that was kind of entertaining, actually. But the rest of the folks were selling, whether it was livestock, whether it was real estate, whether it was personal property or business liquidations, restaurant equipment, could be anything, right? Antiques and collectibles. And then there was the benefit business that was over here, and it was kind of on its own deal. And I think, quite honestly, understandably so, because our format was so different. We had people show up at a party. We had 60 to 90 minutes for people to enjoy a silent auction while they were competing with getting a cocktail from the bar, when they were competing with seeing everybody's new outfit, socializing, standing in line to register, whatever. And the way they bid was on a piece of paper that had 10 lines on it, right? And then we ushered them in. We closed that auction, not when they were done bidding, but when we were about ready to serve dinner, okay? And we raced people into the dining room, and we made them sit down, and then we started rolling people up there for speeches. And then eventually we were going to sell anywhere from 5 to 25, Catholic school 40 live auction packages, right? And it totally different than what you've done in the traditional auction business. Now, fast forward to our new world and the pandemic, and the two businesses aligned a lot, and first and foremost with online. And I know you've been an expert in that area. You've been doing online auctions for other elements of the auction industry for how many years?
It's probably been 15 years now.
Yeah, and proxy bid, hand bid, all the different services that are out there in let's call it the traditional auction industry. I mean, and I'm going to touch on this in a second. These online auctions, I mean, you've been doing them for 15 years, but what has it been? Probably 20 years that the industry really started?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
there's some auction companies that do exclusively online. They don't even, even as far back as a couple of years ago, they had switched over to an online only format. Didn't have any live bids.
Well, and they saw the exact same things we've seen in the benefit business, right? When we shifted over to online bidding, they expanded the bandwidth of the people who would bid, increased our number of bidders. No longer was it relative to just the people who saw your flyer on the, on the fence post and your signs out on the street. The marketing of auctions has become a huge thing. But the part that I'm really interested in, and I think is such a question mark in the minds of so many nonprofit development director types and auction chairs around the country, is this concept of what they call a hybrid, but in the auction industry, you call it a simulcast. Talk to me about simulcast auctions and what you guys have been doing for years in that side of the business.
When online bidding came into play, we were allowing the online bidders to bid along with the live crowd. So we call it a live simulcast. So we do open up the bidding, typically it's a week before the auction. Let the bidders bid for pre-bidding, and then all those bids and bidders roll into the live auction event. Our last one we did was down in Salem. We had probably 20 people on site. We were able to do, socially distance and keep everybody safe apart, wearing masks. We were able to host the live event, but we also had a very strong presence online. When the pandemic hit, we were able to, transition all those live bidders into online bidders because we already had the platform set up. We already had people used to that, had the availability to do it, and it worked out well. It reaches a larger crowd. Like you said, you're not limited to the 200 or 300 people that can be at that event. It's wide out. You can reach out to their relatives, reach out to different states. That rock you throw in the pond has the the ripple that goes out a lot farther when you have online bidding available to supporters that can support the event that you're promoting.
Well, and we see that in the benefit business now. I mean, I had one event down in Eugene that was a normal local event. We used to have about 100 people in the room, which, as you and I know, they come in pairs. Equates to about 50 bidders in the room. We did their event online this year with a virtual format. We registered bidders in 26 different states, right?
Yeah.
And that's no surprise to somebody that's been doing what you've been doing for years, right? You see bidders across the country register all the time.
Oh, definitely. We've seen, people overseas, people from other states that are, they're looking at their markets, not that great. They're coming into the Oregon market. They can pick up a deal. Sometimes they're not the high bidders, but it drives the price up on the people that are there physically, bidding on the property. So it gives everybody a fair shake on as far as bidding on the items that you're selling.
Well, and you and I both know it's all about increasing the number of bidders, right? When we were doing, gathering benefit events, we used to say, butts and seats don't necessarily equal more dollars, right? It's all about the energy of those people. Okay. And I've had many events that I felt like, we have too many people in the room that are not there for the same reason. Okay. And, yes, we sold 50 more tickets, but we raised, $5,000 more or $10,000 less in some cases where I've seen it, because when all of a sudden you get a lot of people in the room and they do not participate, that will make it okay to not participate. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're looking for. But when we move to this online world, the people who tune in are there for a reason, and they want to support your organization. And so they do tend to give, and they learn, and we can motivate them. And when we do bidding, I've been pleasantly surprised when we sell live auction packages virtually, and to see how many more people are bidding, and that the prices we're getting absolutely, in most cases, I see our numbers are increasing over what we used to get in the gathering environment.
Yeah, in the live auctions, typically what used to happen is 20% of the people that showed up bought 80% of the items, and that's You're talking, even in a construction, sales, car sales, just about any type of live auction, before things went online. And with that online reach for the benefit people, you're getting a higher percentage of return and higher percentage of people actually participating and giving to your event when those are, being broadcast online.
Right. And there's some best practices about that, right? I mean, we've talked about it personally. We've talked about it on the show a few weeks back with our good friend Barrett Bray. But I want to confirm with you here on the show for our listeners and watchers. Give me a sense of, in the benefit business, for perspective, we used to talk about starting the bids at 40% of fair market value for our silent packages. We flexed a lot more on the live packages, but as a rule, 40% were silent package start points, and we'd run them up to about 135% and put a buy it now, or 150% put a buy it now. Or I believe Joe Marie came up with the concept of the green line, which was to help motivate people to bid more. But talk to me about what happens in the other side of the business. What's the starting price look like?
It basically, you're putting that starting price in. That comes from a point of fear. So the people that are selling it, they're fearful that they're not going to get enough, so they don't want to start too low. Well, it doesn't matter where you start; it matters where you finish. And as long as you professionally market the items, that's the key. To get the word out there. You're not just inviting a bunch of people and throwing a bunch of stuff out there. You're inviting someone in that is going to participate and help promote that particular organization. So starting at $1, starting at $10, just it doesn't really matter. You're going to have enough people, as long as you do it professionally and you market the items, you're going to get the results.
Right. Absolutely. And that's, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, I said, even in real estate, you're going to get, as long as it's professionally done. That's the caveat. It's got to be professionally promoted. So you have to work with your organizations in finding those proper buyers for the items that you have.
I talk a lot about barriers to entry, and one of the things I think about that's great about our new format in these virtual events is that there are no barriers to entry from a standpoint of, you don't have to buy a ticket to go, you don't have to get a babysitter to go, you don't have to rush home for whatever reason. You don't. There's all sorts of things that are, quite honestly, barriers to entry. I don't dress up to the theme, whatever it is. But I would also say, and I want your professional opinion here, I think starting bids can be a barrier to entry.
Yeah, they can be. I mean, it's starting something at 40%. The auction method a lot of times is a perception of a deal. Typically, somebody's going to, here's auction, and they think, oh, well, I'm going to get it for nothing. Well, a lot of people think that. And so, sometimes the live auction on a farm sale, the best sale that you've ever had is when it's 12 inches of snow the night before, and all the farmers think that they're going to get a great deal because nobody's going to show up.
Right. Right.
You have the online platform there to bolster that, and people are going to have fun bidding. It's no fun to not bid, but if you get it into a low starting price point, people have fun bidding, and it's not. It's a pretty transparent process as well.
Right.
You know that somebody else is bidding against you. You see that people registered, and the organization wins in raising the maximum amount of funds.
Right. In fact, I think you might have said this to me, or maybe it was Joe Marie, but we talked about, there is, in the auction method, there is the pride of ownership versus the fear of loss, right? And as soon as, I say all the time, if we can get somebody bidding on a trip, they can already feel their toes in the sand as soon as they start to put that first bid in, right?
Yeah.
And they can already see the cabana person walking over with that cocktail with the umbrella in it, and they will bid more because they want to keep that feeling, as opposed to being scared that they're, all of a sudden they're going to be in rainy Portland that week. And there's some value to that. They'll actually, they may not have started at $1,000, but they may bid at $1,500 or $2,000 for a trip package if it started at $100, or started at, if they got in, as we say, at $10 or $100, 15, whatever the numbers are.
Yeah, we had that same scenario. We had that happen in a real estate auction, and our eventual winning bidder wanted to be in first place. So each time he was pre-bidding, he'd jump his bid back up, and he won several times throughout the process, and we hadn't even sold the property yet. Then we rolled into the live auction, and he was actually there present, and so, but he was the high bidder at the time that we started the live real estate auction.
Right. And the other one is, we would never put a buy it now price on anything at a regular auction, would we?
No, not something that you're a main or a high item. Some of those are formatted so that when they use the high bid, or when they use the buy it now, that is kind of in the silent auction items. That's to try to get people to, get from point A to point B. Yeah. Right. Somebody that wants an item, put the buy it now price, and then they can go, they can go eat dinner. They can go mingle with other participants. And so that was kind of, a way to let them get on with their things, and they don't have to worry about it. They supported the group. They paid, 150% typically is what they are mostly posted at the buy it nows. But it was try to get people to move on to the next step.
Well, and it was also a convenience factor, right? Because if you only had 60 or 90 minutes for your silent auction and your room was too crowded, and that person who wanted to buy certain things couldn't manage all their bids because they had to race through a crowded room to, I have an item in this corner of the room and an item in that corner of the room. I'm trying to monitor the bids. So, I mean, really, Buy It Now was almost a convenience for our attendees. As much as a revenue generator, and now there's absolutely no reason. We'll take bids until they're done bidding, including anti-sniping, which we've talked a lot about on this program, and it's been relevant. It's been incorporated from day one, it sounds like, in the traditional auction business on online bidding. Is that correct?
That is correct. Oftentimes, the anti-sniping is more used as a soft close. So so people can't just get in the last second and bid what they bid and then they win when it closes. If there's a bid in the last minute or two, depending on how you have it set up, then it'll extend bidding for another 2 minutes.
Right.
And so that process can, raise a huge amount of revenue over and above what it was if it was a hard close at, say 7:30. This item's going to close at 7:30. That closes at 7:30. Well, if people keep bidding on it the last minute of the bids, then they'll extend the time, and then it goes to 7:32, and then it goes to 7:34, and so that could take, get you every one of those extensions is another bid, and money towards the nonprofit.
Right. Well, and I showed it with an event I did earlier this last fall, Tim, where I had a group that had just 31 items in their online auction, right? And of those 31 items, 7 of them went to extended time. And that extended time, the revenue that was generated in those few minutes past the original, closing time, generated over $1,000 for that organization. Now, that may not sound like an incredible amount of money to some groups, but as a percentage, and realistically, paid for their auction software, right? And that's important in the nonprofit world. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of nonprofits out there that you and I have worked with over the years that go around throwing away $1,000 bills, right? So that's a real opportunity for us, and it kind of woke me up to think, I wonder how much money we've left on the table in the gathering event when we hard close these silent auctions because we're worried about the dinner's going to get cold.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's fantastic. What do you see as the future in the auction industry? What's going to happen, whether it's benefits, or are we going to see a growth in people understanding the value and understanding the opportunity, I'd say, in real estate auctions, benefits? How's technology and coming out of this pandemic? It's a wide open question. It's an advertisement opportunity for you.
It definitely is. I'm going to start off with the benefit auctions, and I don't think we're going to get the genie back in the bottle, Patrick.
Yeah.
The online portion with the live stream, I think we're still going to have that when we go back to it, once we open up the floodgates to getting back in meeting in person with larger events. I mean, it'll go just the opposite of the way that it's scaled down. It'll start scaling back up, but we've already seen that. You get larger and larger groups. But I think with the advantages that we've seen with the online bidding and the live stream events, I think it's going to have to be a combination of both.
Right.
To maximize those bidders in those other 26 states that aren't able to attend that auction. So I think that's going to help the organizations raise more money in the end. That's going to be the plus in the benefit auction side of it. As far as most of the personal property items, in the personal property realm, most all of that has gone online as well. And you're going to see that as kind of stay in. A lot of companies will just stay online, and they'll do online only. With the real estate, I still think that it's going to be, there has been some of the national companies have gone to online only in their auctions. So you're going to see fewer and fewer live auctions, but I still think there's value in having a live auction along with having that online component, coupled with it to maximize the exposure and maximize the returns for the sellers. You know, today's real estate market is hot. People go put their house on the market, and they're all excited that they have an offer or multiple offers in the first day. Well, in my perspective is that property didn't have the proper exposure. If they only had one day on the market, how is that fair to all the other buyers that didn't have a chance to see it? You know, they're losing an opportunity there. And yeah, there will be multiple offers on the properties. We like to utilize that marketplace where, you know, we'll get 40 bidders on one property, and the only thing we're negotiating is the purchase price on that property. All the other terms are set there, so all the buyers are participating on the same level. The only thing you're doing is you're only negotiating the price on the property. Typically, our property will close in 30 days. We allow 30 days to close, but it's not limited to 30 days. There's a lot of people that buy properties with the mortgages, so it's not just distressed properties that we're selling at auction. A lot of times you'll see, you know, higher end homes sell at auction. One of the reasons is they can't figure out what's a good price point. Well, if it's a custom home, you know, you don't have a custom home next to it in a neighborhood. It's a unique item. It's a unique price point, and the auction method will bring that price point to the market.
Absolutely. And you bring the audience, right? I mean, one of the things that I think is really valuable in what, you know, Stuart Realty Group does is that you have an incredible following, and you have a database and resources of people that, whether they're looking for a new home, but also for investment property. And like we talked about, the bandwidth of your folks that participate in your auctions. I know in some of the ones I've been involved in, we've had bidders from all over the country bidding, you know, on that coastal property down in Florence, where you did the simulcast. I was impressed. We were on the phone a couple of times with a family out of Texas that was looking to relocate. And I just, you know, I think really what's valuable to me in the real estate auction method that you drew attention to, and I can only reference my personal experience in helping my parents unload my grandparents' home down in Albany, was that, you know, we worked with a conventional real estate agent. She's a very good agent. She does all the right things, but she's in her methodology, right? And I'll never forget it. I asked her what we should sell the house for, and she gave me a number, and I added about 10% to it and said, we'll start it there, right? And literally the sign, before the sign went in the ground, she called me and said, hey, we already have 4 offers. And I went, well, that sucks. And just to be blunt. And she goes, huh? She says, we haven't even put the sign in the ground. We got 4 offers. And I said, well, we clearly didn't, you know, they were all above asking price. And I said, well, we didn't price it correctly. And she goes, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. I said, well, that's okay. She said, now, you know, she fast forwarded me to, you know, when are we going to let these folks know? And I said, well, why don't you let them know? We'll be in touch with them in a week. And she said, a week? What are you talking about? And I said, well, I find it hard to believe that the sign hasn't even gone in the ground, and everybody that's interested in this property already knows your phone number, and they have already reached out to you, and that is the absolute best offer we will get. I logically, that doesn't make sense to me, right? And she kind of wasn't sure what to say to me, right? And so we waited, and it went against her conventional wisdom and whatnot. But we received an offer that within 24 hours of when I had said we were going to tell these other folks, and it was about 30% higher than what we had started at. And I thought to myself, fast forward to what I know now by being educated by you and others, that had we had put a sign in the ground and said, hey, show up here in 2 weeks, show up here in a month, and posted it on social media and done the marketing efforts that Stuart Realty Group does. I love your Facebook post and all the social media you do, the drone fly-ins and all the different things. I guarantee you we're going to get more people interested in that property, and when it comes sales day, they are going to be fired up and they want that house. They got their toes in the sand, right? And whether they're in another part of the country and they're watching simulcast online, or they are standing on the front steps, we're going to get a better price than running it on one of these listing agencies and hope somebody runs across it, right? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I encourage, hey, the viewers out there, people who watch the replay of this video, if you're thinking about making a change or buying some real estate, maybe you want to upgrade your home or make a difference, downsize, the kids are all at school, whatever. There's lots of reasons that you might be interested in making a change in your real estate situation. Reach out to Tim Stewart at Stuart Realty Group and let him explain how the auction method works. And I really go with an open mind, because I'll tell you what, I don't know how you could argue against the auction method for real estate. It would be very, very difficult. Really very difficult for me to understand how you could say that the traditional method would work better for you. Especially, it's just like anything else. If you don't have the right organization, marketing your property and building that audience, just like hosting a benefit auction. If nobody shows up, we're not going to have an auction, right? But when you have a group like Stuart Realty Group, who can get out there and market your property, has the bandwidth to get people interested in your property, and then the skills and the professionalism to sell that in a very high manner, they will maximize your sales price and get you more money for your property. So, hey, Tim, thank you so much for joining me today. And it was great to catch up. Give Joe Marie a hug for me. And we're looking forward to doing a hybrid event with Joe Marie here in a couple of months out at Stoller Wine Group. And I'm sure you and I will be there making sure it all works. And our friends at the AV department are doing the AV. So awesome. I know it'll be rock solid, but I appreciate you taking the time to join me today. And good luck with all your excitement. And I can't wait to hear about the gold mine in Northern California. All right. Tell the girls hello for me, and live it up, buddy. Great to see you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Tim Stewart, folks, he is the man when it comes to real estate at auction, and quite honestly, in so many ways, auction business, wealth of knowledge. If you get an opportunity, if you got a question, reach out to Tim at timstewartrealtygroup.com, and he'll be happy to visit with you and learn more about what you're trying to accomplish, and it'll be a great day. I want to thank again my good friend Noreen Murdock for sharing her story, and it's truly a happy St. Patrick's Day. Look at me there with my my beautiful happy tie on. Happy St. Patrick's, happy me day, I call it. And we had a great show this morning and raised a lot of money for a very deserving group that is making a huge impact in our community. And so it is, it's always great to work with our friends at PYP. Folks, I want to remind you that you can always catch the replays of Fundraising Bidness Talk right on our Vimeo channel at Fundraising Bidness Talk. And use the hashtag. Tell everybody about it. We love to get questions. We love to get interest in what is happening out there and share with you what we're learning. And we can't wait to see you again next week. And you guys have a great, happy me day. And that will be Oh, Timmy chimed in with his, I thought I had it right. It's Stuart Realty Group Inc.com. So my apologies, Tim. Stuart Realty Group Inc.com. And it will be in your best interest to get that information from Tim. So thanks again. I'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. We've got a fun guest next Wednesday. This is a group. It's a high school athletic booster group, okay, that we worked with last November. And they reached out to me, I want to say maybe the next day, maybe the next week. And we booked a virtual event for them again for November of 2021. But we have expanded the use of their auction software. We're using it now to not only solicit sponsorships, but help them solicit the items for sale. And it's going to be a terrific event. The website's already up and running, but we're going to talk to our good friend Amy Moore with Sherwood Athletic Boosters and learn more about what they're using to maximize their opportunity 8 months out from their event. So, hey, folks, thanks again for joining me today. It's great to see you. Always catch the replays on our Vimeo channel. Have a terrific day, and happy St. Paddy's Day to y'all.